Hello, dear viewers. Welcome back to the session. Right now, we have a panel discussion titled The Stepping Stone. We have amazing panelists here. I'm going to quickly introduce all of them. We have Shaheen Mistri here, who's a founder of Akansha Foundation and Teach for India, with an audacious vision of providing excellent education to all children across our country. Shaheen also created projects like the Maya Musical, the Kids Education Revolution, and TFIX. Shaheen serves on the board of Akansha Foundation, Simple Education Foundation. She has also been an Akansha Fellow, Global Leader for Tomorrow at the World Economic Forum, and an Asia Society 21 leader. Our next panelist is Mr. Kumar Anurag Pratap. He brings with him more than 24 years of diversified experience in CSR and community development. At present, he anchors CSR at Capgemini, India. Over the past 2 decades plus, he has worked with various grassroots, donor, UN, and research agencies and corporates. Welcome, sir, to the session. We have Namita here. Namita leads school education interventions at Vidyaposhak and program manager for the Vidyaposhak Yuva Fellowship Program. She helps fellows and coaches them to become the best teachers. Welcome, Namita. We have Baby Naykar here. She is studying in BCom first year in Karnataka College, Dharwad. She is a Vidyaposhak scholar too. Since last year, she has been running a digital school at her home using her tab. Welcome, Baby Naykar. We also have Tulika here, who is going to moderate this entire panel. So she took over the city leadership for Bangalore with a deep belief in the collective power and potential of committed, passionate individuals. Prior to Teach for India, she has worked with the Philips Healthcare across healthcare product portfolios and has done a brief stint leading a state government innovation project. Very happy to have all 6 of you here. Over to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Really excited to be anchoring this conversation. And as we are inching closer to the end of a beautiful 4 days of learning, I'm just sitting with the feeling of how much is there to do in education, but also how all of it is possible, because there are so many people and organizations who are so committed to making it happen. And so, as I was thinking about what would be the best way to sort of anchor this conversation, I was thinking about how at Teach for India, we often use the frame of leading self, leading others, and leading India. And that's rooted in the belief that all change begins with self. And so we are going to turn the lens inwards today on this last day of the conference. And my hope today is that as we do that, our viewers can use our experiences as mirrors to reflect on their own commitments to themselves, to each other, and to India. So with that, I would actually, I was just very curious actually to understand all of your journeys as leaders in your own fields in the last 2 years, right? And it's been 2 years of great challenge. And I would love to understand how your personal leadership has deepened in the past 2 years. Namita, if I may bring you in to get us started.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction, Ellie. And thanks for the great opportunity. We also faced many challenges while during online classes were running for our students. The big issue was access to mobile and internet facility in rural children. We work with rural children. There was no phone, no internet, and in other side schools were closing and we could not reach the students. Gaps were increasing day by day. Even though we work since 21 years for student community, we work with college students, school students. We felt this is very challenge. But last 2 years were really challenging for all of us. But we took it as an opportunity to reach more people with the help of technology. So I took charge of school education initiatives at the time of pandemic only. And also Vidyaposhak started Yuva Fellowship. We are cohort members of Teach for India Enterprise. At the time only we started our fellowship. So at the time I felt now there is a need. Vidyaposhak needs to work with rural children and schools are closing. Now there is a need. So we started our fellowship and we involved volunteers, parents and fellows to help with accessibility to run a show successfully. And also with that, personally, my sense of possibility also has increased, because earlier I felt how we can do, how we are going to do in that way. But now I feel I can face any challenge and everything is possible. I became active in the process, and now Digital India is reaching more students.
Thank you for that, Namita. And I know, baby, you've also been associated with Vidyaposhak, and you've been running your own project as well. So tell us a little bit about how the last 2 years have been for you, and how have you grown through those challenges.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your giving a good opportunity. I felt very helpless because I don't have any digital devices. And earlier, I don't know what to do. I was completely dependent on my teachers. That time, when COVID comes, lockdowns where happens. Then Vidyaposhak provides a tab and internet facilities to the students. I am one of the Vidyaposhak scholar here. Then I felt that I am a college going student. I am facing these much problems, and I thought how students can facing these problems. Then I took an initiative to start teaching to the students. Then most of the students coming to my house, and I I help 10 students in their learnings. Then with this, I learned communication skill and how to teach with the students, and how to lead with the students, and teamwork and patience, etc. Now I felt that I can more impact to the students. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, baby. And Anurag, if I may come to you, and would love to actually hear a different lens, right? You've been active in CSR for so long. What challenges did the pandemic bring for you, and what were some of your learnings in your own personal leadership?
When it started on March 22nd or 25th, we all thought that this is for 3 weeks. And we happily took what's called the paid vacation, and we were waiting for 3 weeks to get over so that we can come back. 3 weeks where it became 2 year, we just don't know. That's one. And then what happened after a month, so everyone started getting worried about not just about schools, but we also run a skilling program. There is a huge amount of, I'll say, health interventions that were happening there, which were non-COVID in that particular sense. And imagine someone looking for chemos or someone looking for ARVs on time, and you are not reaching to hospital because you are considered to be a risk in that particular sense, or you are at risk. So the with no feet on the street, as I used to call, I still call, it was difficult to what's called bring in the similar kind of momentum to some of the work that we were doing. That's one. Second one was we were not used to. No one was taught that you will do social work without reaching out to communities. We were taught that the social work is all about being there, feeling experiencing the situation that people are in there. We were not taught that you'll do social work sitting in your own room and then reaching out to people digitally. Imagine we used to teach our kids that let's limit your screen time, and here we were asking kids to be on screen to learn. We were kind of asking kids to spend an hour or max an hour in front of the TV or in front of the laptop, and there you got into a situation where the whole learning was happening. That, in the sense, also opened up the huge amount of digital divide that we all are in. If you look at overall edtech space, that they were reaching out, they were doing rural business. If you look at computer sale, or if you look at smartphone sale during this particular period, it sold like anything. But at the same time, whom it reached to? Did it reach to the catchment that we all were dealing with, or we are dealing with, or we are working with? I don't think so. EdTech was making money, but what were they catering to the catchment that we all are working with? No, they were not. And 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 then these kids were left on their own. That's one. Second one, the teachers who were working with them, they were not knowing how to use smartphones. They were not knowing how to make digital session plans and then reach out and teach kids there. They were not trained to use smartphones or digital infra to teach kids there. And third one was, which was everyone was called initial. I'll say 1 year or so. Everyone was more worried about COVID, and rightfully they were worried about, and everyone was focusing on that, which resulted into many people abandoning some of the projects which were happening on education, which was reaching out to people, which was grounded at grassroots with government schools. Everyone was what is called taking money out from those projects and putting it for COVID response. Very valid, but did we do justice to kids and their education? We look back and say, I don't think so. And at Capgemini, I feel very happy. But I don't see, I feel very happy, but I feel satisfied that we brought in COVID responses as an additional support. We said that we are going to continue with what we are doing. We will ensure that none of our projects close down, or we are not going to scale down any of our projects. We'll ensure that whatever repurposing is needed so that more and more students can get digital infra, we'll do that particular thing. Additionally, we'll do the COVID response also, as anyone else or everyone is doing that. It was a huge challenge in managing program because nor we, neither the group or with whom we were working, we were attuned to a situation, prolonged one, where digital was the only space where we should be using, or digital was the only medium that we were using to not just to deliver, but monitor, report, record, everything. So everything was digital in that particular sense. We lost touch. There were a number of, I'll say, my colleague joined in during COVID time. So they never got an opportunity to really know the community with whom we were working. So there was huge amount of disconnect what with who they were doing, what kind of activities that they were doing, or the context in which these activities were located at. And in that particular situation, it became a huge amount of challenge to make sure that we are connected with the group that we were working with. And I rightfully shared by others that we also took this as an opportunity. That's the reason why we came out with platform to support not just the kids learning, but also the scaling for youth. Ensure that the content got digitalized or supported groups who were willing to do that particular thing so that we can reach out to more and more people, more and more kids. We ensure that there's huge amount of democratization on distribution of digital infra so that more and more kids coming from socially, economically strata can get that infra in a manner that will enable them to continue with the work that they were doing. And we also ensured that we as a social worker or we as a development professionals got trained to manage our activities digitally because we were very comfortable in our non-digital domain, and then being a digital or tech company, it gave us huge amount of enabler to create some of these systems that we wanted to create at not just at our partners level, partner NGO level, but also at the community level. Uh, I'd say looking at the size of India and looking at the size of problem that we were grappling with, we just touched, I'll say, drops here and there, dots here and there. But at the same time, that has opened up a huge amount of space for all of us to really combine energies and move forward. And rightfully, this particular section is called a stepping stone. So I guess this should become the stepping stone to do something which is more sustainable, more, I'll say, long term, and more comprehensive than what it is today. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Anurag. And I like that connection to how this should be the stepping stone to look at something new. Shaheen, I would love to bring you in. And as you share, would also love to hear how everybody here spoke about the opportunity in the pandemic. As you share, would love to also hear from you. What were some opportunities that you discovered, and what do you think it took from a personal leadership standpoint to be able to bring that out?
Yeah. So just before that, when you said you are teaching 10 kids, I don't know if you noticed my big smile on my face, because one of my solutions for India is that every child who can just goes out and impacts 10 more kids. We'll solve the problem. So more power to you. It was lovely to hear all of the thoughts so far on the panel. I think, Tulika, I'll try and combine your first and second question. Personal leadership, like what comes to mind as I think about how my own personal leadership shifted are the words small and big, ironically. Small because I think the pandemic helped me to see the value of really small things. You framed this as self, but for me, suddenly I started noticing nature. I started spending more time with animals. I started looking after my health more. And so the small things became really important to me. And at the same time, I think what the pandemic did for me, and this speaks to your second question as well, is I think deep in my heart, I've always felt the solution is not to do a little bit in the education system. Because by doing a little bit, we're just perpetuating the status quo. The solution is to dramatically change the system. I think what the pandemic did for me was give me the courage to say that out loud. For many years, it had been building in my heart, but to be able to say on a platform like we're on today, that no, we have to just change the system. The system is broken. And yes, we have to keep trying to fix it as we reinvent it, but we really have to reinvent it. And so I guess courage would be the biggest thing that the pandemic did for me. The opportunity that we saw in blended learning, in the idea that education can happen anywhere by anybody at any time. I mean, that fundamentally opens up windows that it never had before. The other opportunity I saw was the opportunity of the collective. As we were lobbying for schools to reopen as soon as and safely as they possibly could, we just found so many partners in that idea, and people came together very naturally, very organically. So when you put those together, wow, what a combination, right? Get away from improving the status quo, reinvent the system, but remember that you're a collective of many, many, many like-minded people who can work together towards that goal.
Thank you for sharing that, Shaheen. And I think in everything that I'm hearing, I'm hearing so many opportunities that all of us saw in a circumstance that probably was really challenging, right? And as I was listening to all of you, and Baby loved what you shared as well, right? Of how you took that as a challenge to work with more children, and personally felt really happy listening to that also, because this is so close to where I am in Bangalore. So just really happy to hear that work is happening so close to where I am as well. But as I was listening to all of you, I was thinking, if I am a teacher in a rural school in India right now, who spent the last 2 years just really immersed in doing a lot of administrative work, really trying to figure my way around a lot of things that I don't fully haven't been fully trained to do, don't feel fully equipped to do. Or if I'm a student who's maybe writing 10th grade, and with all this conversation on holistic education, I have lost so much of academic learning, and I'm just trying to catch up and figure out how to actually sort of play my role in the system that exists, right? I think from the lenses of these people who are probably listening to us right now, I would love to actually understand, what do you think, for you individually, what do you think it took to be able to see that opportunity for reinvention and for reimagining in a time like this, right? So at a very personal level, what do you think it takes to see that opportunity?
Yeah. Can I share?
Sure, Namita.
So in last 2 years, a big opportunity was collaboration. Because of this pandemic only, this world of experts opened to the world. Like it was opened, and even in our fellowship also, people sitting from Mumbai, Delhi were able to take session for our fellows. If it is in-person world, they might not come here and take session. Ultimately, it reaches fellows and it reaches to students. That was the one big opportunity we got. And also with the collaboration of a different organization, we could able to do more sessions for students. Like we created platform for students' voice here through poetry and drama. And gender equality sessions have been taken place, and SEL session took place. And also we run some summer camps for the children from last 2 years for school children. And also we keep them engaged with some activities. These all are the opportunities I can see. And also while reimagining the system for the children and the community, actually this is the right time to rebuild the system. Because I want to share one of my experience. So due to pandemic in rural area, what happens, people will take their children to agriculture land. So schools were closed, and it became like habit for children. Normally daily they used to go to agriculture field, and they used to work. When school starts, same happened. Some of the parents were not sending children to schools. Attendance was the biggest issue we faced. But we thought we should educate parents more than students. So we created learning circle for parents also. We call it as a parent circle. So through that, we given awareness, and now we increased our attendance ratio compared to last year. So in this way, we should involve community in rebuilding the system, I can say.
Thank you for sharing that, Namita. I love the idea of doing learning circles for parents, given how important their role has become during this time. Baby, would you like to share next?
Yes, ma'am. As I already mentioned here, I got a good opportunity to teach us younger students, and it enables to build a good leadership quality and helping nature and communication skill. Then they were learning through our apps, and it was I am helping them when schools were closed. Then weekly once they used to have a online class, live classes from volunteer teachers. Then I took along with this I took a summer camps, and I learned many. I participated in extracurricular activities. Then I and my students, they learned poetry and dramas, etc. Then I feel I understand my students' problems and etc. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Baby. And I love that you thought about poetry and drama and extracurricular activities during this time as well. Anurag, bringing you back in, when you think about all the opportunities that you explored, what do you think it takes at a personal level to be able to look at opportunities in a time like this?
There are 2-3 things. One is that to be flexible I've realized that if you are too rigid with your own thought process, saying that this is how it should be happening, you will never, what is called, uh, take the benefit of some of the options which are knocking at your door. That's one. Second is, uh, don't put your own comfort at the center of when you're designing the programs there. It's very easy, and I've seen that's one of the reason why some of the ambitious program failed, because people who were designing it, they put their own interest there at the fulcrum of everything that they were doing. One need to always look at the constituency for whom you're designing the program, put their interest in the center, and then look at how you can build your own capacities to manage some of these challenges that people are talking about. Third, what I have witnessed in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, is that there's a huge opportunity for people to collaborate, people to join hand, people to bring in their own expertise. Digital opened up that avenues for example, at Capgemini, and we have close to 55,000 plus employees who volunteered, who gave their time, energy, expertise, skills, wisdom, and even resources to do some of the work that we managed to do in the last year. So there's a huge amount of opportunity, and which is just there, and which was always there, but we never worked on that because we were happy in our own zone. This gives us an opportunity to reach out to more people, because you were backed by large number of voices there, enabled by digital and tech. So these things in number of ways helped us, and what we also did in some of the project, and I completely agree with when Shaheen was talking about that. It can't be, I'll say, incremental improvement that we should be seeking. It can't be that I've covered 10 more slums, I've covered 2 more cities, I've covered X number of people. It needs to be a huge quantum jump from what we are doing today, or we were doing yesterday, and then what we aim and intend to do tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. That's what India does to you, because you won't be you shouldn't be in. Uh, uh, Looking at feeling very happy about help 2,000 kids in one particular place. These are good numbers to be put up in annual reports, but these are not the numbers that you can what is called. These are not the numbers that you'll use it to have a good story session with your grandkids when you have kids there to tell them about what you did during your life. So this is the time for the planning for the quantum jump that we also be seeking, because without that, I guess we'll be pushing them into the same situation from where they came from. We'll be just leaving them unattended. We'll be happy satisfying our egos by writing our reports saying that touched so many people, but the large scale impact that we all should be working towards. That's one particular thing we all should aim and attempt for. I always say in all these meetings, and this is if CSR heads are listening to this, I'll say this is the time for all of us to leave our quest for our logos to get prominent place or egos to get satisfied. Leave your logos and egos and join hand, collaborate, look at the larger picture, and look at how we can all jointly intervene to create the change that we all are seeking.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Anurag.
Thank
I love the term quantum jump, and how you framed it. And Shaheen, bringing you in, what do you think it takes at a personal level to look at opportunity in a time like this?
Yeah, I mean, just plus one, Anurag, to what you said about quantum leap. I would add to that as well. I think when we think of quantum leap in India, we think about scale, as we should. You know, you said reaching the last child, but I've also started thinking a lot more about what does quantum leap in depth mean? Because we all know that education cannot end with foundational literacy and numeracy. That is critical, but it's like tiny baby step one. And so what does it mean for us and for CSR heads listening to this to embrace that idea as well, that we need to reach all children, but we need to do a lot for all children and have the belief that we can actually do that together. So just wanted to add that addition there. Tulika, in my personal leadership, again, something I have not learned, but I'm attempting to learn because it's very important to me, is how to listen and how to actually understand what partnership truly means. I think partnership is a very, very difficult thing to do. And working with people is a very difficult thing to do, and listening is a very difficult thing to do. I know in my head, even when I try to listen, my head is racing ahead with 100 other things. I think unless we listen, especially to our children, and ask them, what do you need? You know, what do you really need? And then sit down with them and say, okay, how can we work together as partners? And what does partnership mean? It means letting go of ego, letting go of control, letting go of this age-old idea that, you know, the older I am, the wiser I am. Like there are lots of these, a lot of conditioning that we have to let go of to truly embrace partnership. But I think change is going to happen when we look in the mirror and we say, what does it really mean to listen to another person, to understand another person, and to work alongside another person towards a goal that we both believe in.
Thank you for that, Shaheen. Yeah, I think resonate very strongly with that, that need and that push and that orientation for partnership that's come through during the pandemic. Anurag, I know you wanted to add something.
No, I just wanted to add to what Sain was saying, that I completely I agree with her when she says that there is a need to widen and then deepen what we are doing with doing in the area of education, and it can't be just for school. There is huge amount of need felt and expressed by kids there, which goes beyond the basic literacy that one is talking about. There is a huge amount of focus that people are bringing in and kids are talking about on mental health, on career counseling, on looking at higher, taking them beyond the primary, secondary, elementary schooling that one is very happily these days investing in, but one need to go beyond. And my take always is that education should become a vehicle for greater empowerment that we all are seeking. It should become a tool for people to break the cycle of poverty. It should become the tool and mean for people to come out and start demanding certain things that they should be getting in a more dignified manner, in a where their self-esteem is kept intact, and for that there's a huge need to somewhere deepen our investment on education, which is going beyond some of the basic and something that we all happily do, but that I always consider that to be the softer part of education. The toughest or harder part of education is to go beyond so the obvious thing that we are doing and look at how we change the mindset of people. I'll give you one example, and I very proudly give this particular example. We work with government schools, and in one of the school at Karnataka, when one of my business leader was visiting, that they were showing the innovation lab which was developed by us, and kids were showing their project. One of the child was showing the robot that he had built there. The leader being leader, she asked how many times you failed, and the pat came the reply 10 times. And the second question came from the leader was, why did you continue? And trust me, I never felt happier when he said that I continue to make people like you accept and believe that the kids from government school can also do this. For me, that is
Anurag, you're on mute.
Standard kid in number of ways. answered so many questions that I really want to answer through the work that we are doing at each place. Self-esteem, giving them the confidence that they can break this particular thing and make other people believe that yes, these kids are special and we need to invest in them.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like what you said about education as a tool for empowerment. And thank you for sharing that story. It's really powerful. And taking that as a segue, right? Like I would now love for us to shift our focus to the how of it, right? Like how do we make education a tool for empowerment? And what do you think is the role for educators all over the country, students all over the country in creating that education? Right. So this would be my last question. So as you're sharing, would love for you to also share what's the role of educators and students, and also what would be your message for keeping that in mind? What would be your message for students, educators who've been through so much in the last 2 years, but who've been so resilient, who are listening to us right now? And Baby, would love for you to get us started this time.
Yes, ma'am. The pandemic and school closure, it was learning gap, particularly for rural students, and then have missed the schools for more than 18 months. Then we need to focus on to provide a good quality of education to the rural children. Then they are all students actively participated in that schools, and they were actively participated in extracurricular activities and dramas, etc. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Baby. So what I'm hearing is how can students participate in school activities and just have a greater voice, right, in the day-to-day working of the school. Namita, would love to hear what you think as well. And also if you have a message for, I know you work closely with teachers, so if you have a message for teachers and students around the country. I think we've lost Namita. Hi, Namita. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I got drop off due to network issues. Here, raining is. So actually, when Anurag was sharing, I also thought like that only. So when we were celebrating Science Day, no, I thought how our students can do science models and all. They are rural government school children and they are very small, no, 5th, 6th, 7th graders. So when I visited there, I felt really happy. They were doing really nice models which can be implemented in system also. Just I wanted to start with that. And also, as you asked, for adults who are educators, I would say don't judge any students by their marks. So if they are unable to learn, it is not child's fault. Maybe we need to change our teaching style or way of approach. So we should not think how we can like we should think like how we can make it joyful learning and how we'll make our classroom where every students will eager to come to school. So we should move from marks oriented system to skill based and effort based evaluation system. And also we need to concentrate on value based education now, because due to pandemic students are using digital device and they are attracting to many things. So if we are teaching them values which we can provide good citizen for our nation also. And also we all learned so many things in pandemic time despite of many challenges. So elders also we should keep learning, and educators should use those learnings into the practice and to help more students. Now schools were closed, sorry, opened, but still we can use digital or blended learning model, which can save teacher and students time also. So let us all join and make India's future shine. And for students, I would say be strong in all the ways and enjoy learning. And also students should start giving back to the society, how our student Baby Naykar is doing, no? Same like our other 35 students are also doing the same way. They are trying to give back to the society. So if we are giving back to the society, then nation will build. Dear students, become contributors to the community and the nation. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Namita. There's so much to learn from what you shared. The students contributing today to building a better India. Teachers thinking about how to make learning environments more joyful. There's so much to think about there. Shaheen would love to hear your message.
I think that the same thing, Tulika, would be my message. Like, listen to children, ask them what they need. They've come through 2 very difficult years. List out all those needs together, brainstorm solutions together, and work together for all of you. I always feel like 20 people will always be stronger than 1, and 40 will always be stronger than 20. And the second really quick and important thing is just a reminder to do the little things that you do every day with great love. Really love what you do in the small actions. I think everything shifts when that's the way that you work. You work to serve with love. That's been very helpful for me.
Thank you for that, Shaheen. Do little things with great love. That's a beautiful message. Anurag?
There's a need to shift the focus from kids being the consumer of knowledge to creator of knowledge. I strongly feel that this is the time when we should allow them. And if I look at what everyone has said, if we start what is called articulating their voices and let them create the content for themselves, that will go a long way in they just being a silent, passive consumer of all the content that is being thrown to them. We all think that we all are wiser in front of them, but trust me, they are much more wiser than all of us because it's undiluted, unfiltered knowledge that you'll get from them. That's one. Second is that they were out from the scene for 2 years. Don't force them to learn everything within 1 year. So if we have asked for extension in our own life, in our work, in our projects, we need to also allow them to have the space to gradually move into this because in number of ways they have lost touch with some of the things. We need to allow them some amount of time so that they can regroup and regain the confidence that they may not be having there. Third is have patience. Patience is one virtue that these days people are not having. Listening is another one, and Shaheen, you rightly pointed out. But somewhere I strongly feel that we don't have the patience. Everyone these days is fancy of 2-minute noodles. They don't have the patience to cook the biryani, spend around 5 hours, 6 hours to cook the biryani and then taste it. Any given day, biryani will taste much better than noodles. So I always tell people that have some patience, cook something. If you really want to, what is called, get the right kind of taste, then you need to spend time there. And then you'll see the result. These days, boardroom discussion, people are too much impatient by asking impact within 6 months, 1 year or so. So that's why I always tell them that you'll never get the impact, at least I'll say in less than 3 years or so. You need to invest time with them only you'll get it.
Thank you for that, Anurag. And thank you, everyone. Such a beautiful conversation. I'm thinking about listening to children and keeping children at the center. I'm thinking about patience. I'm thinking about the power of partnership. And I'm just thinking about love, about doing small things with great love. Thank you so much. Had learned a lot from each one of you today. Thank you for allowing me to hold this space. Back to you, Eddie.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Shaheen, Baby, Namita, Anurag, and Tulika for that wonderful space. I think there are definitely a lot of things that we are also thinking about seeing opportunities in challenging situations. Like the pandemic was definitely difficult for all of us, but how did we see opportunities in that? One big thing definitely that came out was collaboration and partnership. Like just let go of everything, just think about collaboration and partnership, and how education becomes a vehicle for empowerment. And definitely what Shaheen you said about love everything that we do, it significantly changes the impact of everything that we are doing. Thank you so much, dear wonderful panelists.